Already? Okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Thimo. Thanks for having me, by the way. I'm going to talk today about an option trading bot using the Trader Workstation on AWS. That's a great name. Why? Because I thought it could be a funny talk about AWS in the house of Kubernetes. And yeah, let's get started. Few words about myself. Yeah, Thimo Koenig, as I say, that's my name. I'm working at ONLU mainly as a software engineer. Most of my projects are not on AWS, actually, mostly on Kubernetes and OpenShift stuff. Like, yeah, most of the bigger enterprise projects are, at least here. Most of my time is spent in backend systems. No one would probably hire me for front-end stuff. If anyone would do it, I probably would just create web components in JavaScript. That's all I know. I like to run in my free time, and of course I like trading, right? When you practice some trading, there are a lot of repetitive tasks you have to do, well, once per week, every day, or however you like. And that was the main idea, to automate, to help me a little bit at least. So the main topics today in this talk are some basics about option trading, really just the basics to understand the use case. Some requirements. I mean, it's my own software, but yeah, my requirements for me. The technical conditions are, yeah, pity. The solution design for that, a little bit about the infrastructure, because it's on AWS, as I said, and the CI/CD setup, if we can call it, CI/CD setup, and let's say a demo. I mean, there's no UI, as I said, so a demo is, yeah, it's hard to show. It's better? Great. Okay. A few words about options. What are options? So before I show the slide with tons of words, options are basically contracts between two people, or it could also be two companies, but two entities. There's always one who sells the option and one who wants to buy the option, right? So, and options are financial products, and you buy or sell options for some kind of underlying. So, for example, for a stock of Tesla, or ETFs, or indices, or whatever. So, different. You can have options for different things. Nearly everything. There's always, when you have a contract, it's like in real life, there's some kind of expiration date. So, for example, you can have an option for 30 days. After 30 days, the option is expired, or for 1 day, or 7 days. That's what I said. A lot of work on it. Basically, this one is generated by AI. I asked because I was too lazy to draw something, and the AI had really problems with words. I only left that one that seems to be okay, but as you can see here, I deleted some words. Anyway, the options have always two sides. You can buy or sell options, and you can have call or put options. You can be long, you can be short. So there are multiple, let's say, properties of an option, much more than you have when you just trade with stocks. I will show an example now that makes it a little bit clearer now. Hopefully, a little bit clearer. That's the chart of Tesla from the end of January. Yeah, end of January. Tesla had, I think they had some bad earnings or so. So when you see this kind of chart, the current price was here. It's 183. Let's say around 183, and now we make a deal. Okay, so Tim. I offer you now, I will give you today $100 US. You can keep it. Whatever happens, you can keep it. But in 30 days, I would like that you sell me 100 Tesla stocks at the price of 180.
This friend is not my friend.
Yeah, what could happen? I mean, either the price go up and you have to give me for 180, 100 Tesla stocks. Could be a bad deal for you, right? It could also go down. That would be a good deal for you. You have the $100 plus everything between these two prices. So that's like option trading is working. That's the basic idea, let's say. Of course, when I'm practicing that, I would never do things like that. It's like gambling. I mean, I can say, okay, now it's 83. I guess in 30 days it will be more than 183. Maybe, maybe not. So there's a lot of metrics you can evaluate. There's a lot of technical analysis. There are tons of people and tons of books. A lot of people offer you courses about that, and yeah, it's a big field. But that's one of these screenshots. One of the screenshots from the trading view that you can see when you practice this option trading, and that's the main message from here, from all this option trading theory, is that for each price and each expiration date, there's a lot of data. It's different compared to when you just trade stocks. There's one price today, that's it. And in options, there's really a good amount of data. That makes it a little bit more complicated. You need to handle all this data, and of course, you need to, well, have a strategy behind which of these values you would take now. So to give you some kind of feeling, what I'm normally doing is, I'm not sure if it's part of these slides, when doing this options trading, I'm looking for very uncertain situations and selling an option, keep the premium and hope that I can keep it and nothing will happen. After some time, the contract will expire. I have the premium, maybe $50, and that's it. Then I will open a new option. So that was, let's say, my motivation. Yeah, sometimes it works, sometimes not. Let's come to the requirements. So as you have seen all this data, the main requirement for me was, because it consumes a lot of time to do that, I would like to have a software that takes a watch list of cherry-picked stocks, many stocks, or ETFs. The software should analyze the current, let's say, structure of the chart at the first place, and then for all stocks that looks okay-ish in some kind of strategy, it should analyze the option prices. And when the option prices are, let's say, comparable higher than normally, and some criteria match, then it should create some kind of trigger. Why only a trigger? Well, I mean, it's real money at the end. It should inform me, hey, there's maybe an option price, and there's maybe an option you could buy or sell. Yeah, just take a look on it, please. In theory, the software were built that could also execute the price, but well, I don't want it. Some things that are not covered here. I mean, I don't want to motivate you that you just blindly buy or sell options, please. It's really a risky thing. There's a lot of money you can lose there. In theory, there's no limit. Yeah, I mean, especially when you sell options and the price go down, there's a zero, right? There's a limit. But in theory, the other direction is also very dangerous. We have seen this with, what was the name of the stock? GameStop. Yeah, that was basically the same problem. So risk management is a really big thing in option trading. And also there are some kind of custom market traffic lights implemented. So there are some situations where I never want to trade, like COVID crash. There are some indicators when they are too high, above some kind of threshold, I will just do nothing, basically. Yeah, so that were my functional requirements, let's say. And then I had, of course, some non-functional requirements. The first one, of course, it was, there's no commercial behind. It's just my fun project, so I would like to have fun. I would like to utilize AWS services it was mainly for practicing reasons. There's not really a technical reason behind it. Go serverless were useful. Yeah, okay. Then the other important thing was MongoDB. I've seen the talk about MongoDB data pipelines. I never used them before, and I thought, okay, looks interesting. Let's search a use case for it and try it. Yeah, that was one of the use cases here. Then there's a terrible, complicated API for this option trading, and I would like to gather some knowledge. To be honest, after a few days, I was using some kind of abstraction layer around it because it was terrible to use. But yeah, the initial idea was gather some knowledge about it. And important for the architecture is not designed for high frequency trading and no intraday trading. Okay, so from all of that, we are hopefully now able to look at the technical conditions. When you would like to implement a trading board for stocks or things like that, it's relatively easy to get prices, the current price of the stock, because you can find it everywhere. It's not super easy for options. As I told you, there are a lot of data involved, and normally you can pay for this data, for the data feed, basically. Or you can simply use the software that you also use for your trading. And that's what I did. The software we're using is called Trader Workstation. This was this one from the title. As you can see, it's super modern. It has a really nice UI. No, to be honest, it's more than 20 years old. It's pretty solid. Software is written in Java. It is really super feature rich. Let's say feature rich. Yeah, you cannot find each and every feature, but it's there. You can be sure it's there. The important thing for me was it offers you can activate it. It offers some kind of API over a TCP socket, and then you can let the software execute your instructions. That works well, but as I said, the API is terrible. The whole execution model, of course, is not synchronous. You cannot block the whole software with one of your calls. It's very event-driven. You basically register a good amount of listener and send some commands. And then after some time, you will get the response. I mean, it's relatively quick. It's really fast. For me, there was no other cheap way to get this data. So I used that one. The downside is, I mean, other than the API itself, it does not have a headless mode. So wherever it runs, it requires some graphical interface. That's the fact. That's bad. I mean, yeah, it's annoying. Okay, and of course, it's a little bit hard to program against it, but I told it, I think, 1 or 2 times now. So let's come to the solution design from the requirements and the fact that I need some UI. Okay, so the solution design is pretty easy. I have the Trader Workstation. I need something, my trading application, that is able to speak with the Trader Workstation, execute my commands, and collect the price data. I would like to have some kind of watch list somewhere with my cherry-picked stocks and ETFs. I would like to store prices in some kind of database. I would like to aggregate everything because most of my strategies are based on aggregated data. Or not most, all of them. And at the end, there should be something that generates a signal and sends the signal back to the trade application. In the application itself, either the trade is executed or, as I did it, it's just, let's say, created there but not executed, so that I have my watch list I wished. When we map this now to, when we draw some boxes around, how can we encapsulate it a little bit? We require some kind of compute for the Trader Workstation and the trading application. It's on the same machine. It's just a TCP socket. I don't want to spread it around. I have my database and aggregation pipelines. As I said, I have Mongo. I choose Mongo, so it's just one bucket here. Mongo can do both. the watch list, well, I need something to some kind of spreadsheet. So I went with Google Spreadsheets. And I need some kind of lightweight compute engine for the signal generation. It was easy choice, but let's take a look on it, how it looks on AWS. So as I need these graphical interface, it's an EC2 instance. At the end, on the EC2 instance is the, as I said, the trading application. I have Google Spreadsheets, and here we have the MongoDB. The signal generation happens in a Lambda. And when the signal generator thinks, hey, that could be a good combination of criteria, it simply generates a message on a queue, and the trading application reads from this queue and applied it. The signal generator is not running all the time. It just runs every 5 minutes because it's really enough for me. Normally, I'm placing 1 trade per day or so. So every 5 minutes is good enough. There's some kind of trigger I will show you later. I'm using Event Bridge for that. Okay, that's our high-level solution design running on AWS. When we now would like to focus on just a few components in the sake of time, let's maybe go to the EC2 setup. So on EC2, I'm sorry, does everyone know what EC2 is? It's basically virtual machines on AWS. For the EC2 setup, I had, of course, a bunch of things I need to install, especially the some kind of graphical interface. So yeah, I went with XFCE for that. The Trader Workstation, you cannot install the Trader Workstation just with the command line. You need the graphic interface and you click, 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 click. So I had to do that once. For me, because I would like to connect against it, I need the VNC server or something comparable. I know VNC is not encrypted, but it's just a fun project. So yeah. My Python application, I put everything in containers. So there was just a container runtime running on the EC2 instance, executing the Python application. Installed some AWS helpers. That's not super important, but it's great when you want to collect logs or deliver logs to log systems that you install the agent. Same for the CLI, just handy to use it. Well, a good amount of permissions you need to add, and a good amount of other things. The important thing here is I don't want to repeat this all the time when I decide to spawn a new instance. Well, so you have a few choices when you want to do this on AWS. You can either just write a script and let it execute when you start the instance the first time. It's a little bit hard because, as I say, the Trader Workstation require, it needs me to click. So I choose the process of image baking. Before I was working with AWS, I never heard these two words, image baking, but it's a pretty easy process. It basically means you just configure start an instance, configure your instance as you want to have it, stop it, and create an image from that. That's image baking. They decided to create an own word for it. So into your image, at the end, you have Amazon Machine Image, AMI. It's stored on S3, and you can share it if you want. You can also bring it to another region or whatever you want to do. Of course, I haven't done that, but you could. All attached volumes at the time of creating this image, Amazon will create a snapshot from it. And when you spin up a new instance, it will just spawn EBS volume and all good? Okay. And, attach it. Okay, that's what I've done once, a few months ago. The other important component was MongoDB. MongoDB Atlas is a managed database as a server system by MongoDB. It runs on either AWS, GCP, or Azure. I think I could choose at the very beginning. There's a free tier. They say this in the talk. It's a free tier, and I said yes, it's a free tier. I have storage for free. Of course, it has some limitations. The main feature I was using was the time series collections. That was what the talk about is, and the data pipelines. The time series collections, of course, is you can apply some operations based on time. For the data pipelines, you can define what should happen with your, how should the aggregation or whatever you want to do happen. Here you can see a small code snippet from my production system. I mean, without the symbol filter, but at the very beginning, you define how your data should be filtered. So I just filter out some crappy data, and then here it's really super easy. You can define your bin size, so 1 day, for example, and how your data should look like. So you have always a source data set and then a reside, and that's here the transformation part. So for example, for the field named high, I would like to have the maximum, so the highest high. For low, I would like to have the lowest low. And for first, of course, open the first open, and so on. The result of all that, the result of all that were 4 different collections. For 50 minutes, 1 hour, 4 hours, and 1 day. For everyone who's curious, here are the links to these things. Maybe the last important message here, as I said, there's a limitation. One of the limitations is there are no triggers. There were no triggers in the free version. So, of course, you have the data pipeline now, and you have your data, but you need something that says to the pipeline, please run. And that was not included in the free version. So, but what they did, they offer you the ability to define custom endpoints that can call your pipeline. So I had, again, additional Lambda function that runs every few minutes to call my custom endpoint that applies, and so on. So yes, I got my data at the end. Okay, no. If anyone is curious, we can take a look on the reset at the end. But at the end, it's just price data, aggregated price data is reset of all that. So for the setup itself, outside of the image baking, everything was automated. And whenever I'm working on AWS projects, also my free time, I try to automate it, because I think the main reason for me is first, running resources produce costs, of course, and the second reason for me is I forgot what I did. I mean, you have to provision a lot of services sometimes for your software, and then you do not work for it for 2 weeks or so. I have no idea what I did 2 weeks before. So what I'm normally doing is using the Cloud Development Kit. Do you know what this is? It's okay. The Cloud Development Kit is a solution provided by AWS. Terraform has something similar now as well, since a year or so. And you can describe your infrastructure using normal programming languages. TypeScript is very common in this area. Sometimes I'm also using Java for it, but most of the time I'm using TypeScript. And you can describe everything you would like to provision on AWS just in TypeScript. That's super handy and super readable, of course. And a big benefit of this process is that you can start, but also destroy your complete infrastructure with one command. So when you get tired on Sunday evening, you can just say, okay, shut everything down I have and delete everything, basically, if you want. And that's it. Internally, this TypeScript stuff is synthesized to CloudFormation. CloudFormation is less readable, let's say. But this is the stuff that's at the end applied on AWS. So I don't want to get in more details because the pictures are there. Let's make it a little bit shorter. For our purpose now, the trading application structure just to give you an idea how this CDK stuff is organized, you have some wrapper around. It's called the application, and inside the application you can have one or more stacks. Each stack itself is a deployable unit. You can also say, I just want to deploy this unit, and that's it. Normally, of course, you deploy the whole application, but you could if you want. And well, there's some hierarchy inside a stack. There are constructs, and these constructs can have multiple levels, and so on and so on. But that's maybe a little bit hard to see just on slides. I thought it could be easier in code. I forgot it. Yeah, so the only example I will show, I promise. We have the app as the outer layer, let's say, and for the app, I can now add different kind of stacks. For example, I create the network with just instantiating a VPC stack. It's my own VPC stack, very, very opinionated VPC stack. I have for the EC2 instance a stack, of course, that spins up my EC2 instance and using the customized image I built before. And maybe one thing that could be interesting for everyone is there's some service. I think it's called Instant Scheduler, and you have to pay for it, so they will charge you. But you can also easily write it by your own, and it's just a few lines of code. For me, for example, what I did, I mean, the exchange is not open 24 hours. It's just 8 hours per day. Why should I pay 24 hours for my EC2 instance? So I have these kind of Lambda-based scheduler that just starts my EC2 instance and stops it at the end. Let's maybe continue. So as you can see, it's more or less readable, I would say. Much better than the alternative. Okay. Let's come to the last slide. That's the CI/CD system, and that's a short one because there was not really a CI/CD system. It's not. I called it here, and it's not enterprise ready. It's semi-automated. What it mainly does, I mean, my main work was in the Python application. I changed the code, and of course, I would like to deploy this. Everything around was pretty easy and small. And for the Python application, there was a script. I pushed the code. I built a new Docker tag, pushed the tag to container registry, and changed the configuration on AWS. So next time when the EC2 instance starts, it will just pull the latest image based on this configuration and starts it. That's it. That was good enough for me, let's say. Because normally I was working on it on the weekend, and on the weekend there's no, I cannot trade, so the EC2 instance wasn't running. And the other script was deploying the infrastructure by calling CDK deploy. That was all. That was super simple. My super simple CI/CD setup. I think. Well, I'm in time, right? That's it. I have a good amount of demos prepared, but yeah, time is over.
I have some questions.
Yeah.
Not the technical ones, but the fact that you're here holding that talk for pizza and beer.
Yeah, that's the topic. It wasn't enough, yeah. So,
but I really wonder specifically the costs.
Yeah.
How do you manage them? I mean,
for the infrastructure, or
everything on the free tier, or did you actually have to?
Well, my account is so old, I think I have no free tier anymore. But it was around. Well, let's look into it.
Okay, that's fair.
Yeah, I mean, the main thing was the EC2 instance that I stopped after a few hours. Everything else was for free. Okay, the IP address. That's it. Yeah, the Lambda is definitely in free.
Yeah.
I mean, every 5 minutes, it's nothing. Yeah.
And the architectural choice of services was due to the requirement that you wanted to learn, not because you felt like, okay.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the EC2 instance, I did not really have a choice. Yeah. I need the UI. Yeah, that was the most annoying part. Yeah. Yeah, so it's not super expensive. Yeah. And I think it wasn't a small EC2 instance because the Trail workstation is feature rich but heavy.
And from what I can see, you're still using it.
From time to time, yeah. It's not the same architecture anymore, but yeah. Yeah, I changed it a little bit. Yeah, but principle, yeah, I'm using it.
Okay, thank you.
How do you test software? I mean, do you have some test data or
Here, you mean this software? Well, yes. And the whole software was running against the paper trading account. That's the first thing. So I hadn't used my real money. And for the Python applications, it's just common unit tests, and that's it. To be honest, I had the unit test and then the paper trading. Yeah.
And that's only for local trading. I mean, you mentioned that 8 hours per day, so you do not. Your goal is not to play like 24/7 on different markets. Or
no, definitely not. This was really, I mean, this process of choosing a stock in the first place, finding a good price and so on. It takes sometimes an hour or so in the evening after your work, and you can only do it on evening because the exchange is closed during your day. It's in America. So yeah, I was just annoyed by this process. Okay.
Interactive brokers, like they don't offer any.
Good point. Yeah, they do, but there was a restriction. You have to spend, I think, 25,000 per month in fees or so. Something like that. I just read it, and then you get contacted by them maybe, but no.
And I guess the tool you're using has like a license or allowed to use it without additional.
Why interactive brokers? Okay, yeah, there are not so many choices when you trade with options. Interactive brokers is the biggest one and the cheapest one.
in Europe,
In America, it's an American company. Sorry?
Ameritrade, or how is it called?
Tasty Trade is also there. There are just a handful, I would say. But for the interactive brokers, I mean, options are never for free. There's always a small fee you have to pay. And for interactive brokers, it depends a little bit, but I spent around €2 per option. That's cheap, I would say. Cheap enough. And the alternatives are not much better. I mean, they always have these crappy software running somewhere. Okay.